Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me, as always, on Monday evenings right around here, it's Ross Grimsley, the old left-hander. And Ross, tonight you and I always talk to ex-baseball players. Most of them are Orioles. Tonight, it's a little bittersweet. We're joined by ex-Orioles relief pitcher Jim Poole. And Jim, welcome in. And we're sadly having you on to talk about the diagnosis from about 9 months ago that you are only the third baseball player in history behind Lou Gehrig and Jim Catfish Hunter. And I think that's the first time you're mentioned in that category.
Without a doubt.
with suffering from ALS, more commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Welcome in.
Yeah, Stan, Ross, thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me.
Well, the reason we wanted to have you because you said you wanted to sort of do what you can do, raise awareness about this disease. So what do you know about 9-10 months into this that you didn't know before you were literally diagnosed? Is there anything you can put your arms around?
About the disease itself, it has progressed as erratically as I was told when I was diagnosed. One of the things I didn't know going into this, and I have found out to be true since, was while ALS is a disease, the way it impacts folks, where it starts, how fast it progresses, seems to have no rhyme or reason from person to person. For me, I seem to be one of those people that it moves along at a pretty solid clip. When I got diagnosed, I was walking with a limp. I had some use of my left arm, though not great. And now I'm in a power wheelchair, and really it's only my right arm and right hand that I can use. And as you can tell, my voice is starting to deteriorate. Yeah.
Jim, I'm wondering at this point in time, from the date that you were told by Dr. Jonathan Glass, the director of Emory ALS Center in Atlanta, that he told you right in front of you, just told you and Kim that I know ALS. They say you can't diagnose it. I know it like I know my grandmother. You have it. From that moment on, has this been more difficult physically on Jim Poole or mentally and emotionally on Jim Poole?
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's been much more of a physical battle. Resisting some of the deterioration in my body. It started with wanting to be able to walk up and down steps and you name it, right? All the way to progression of the wheelchair, fighting that progression. Mentally and emotionally, well, clearly I'll have my moments of frustration. I can honestly say I've never felt depressed. I wake up every day and I'm looking forward to what the day has in store. I'm still working. I love what I do for my job. My family has been unbelievably supportive, and stand on top of all that, the outreach I've had from people that have been close to me for a while and people I haven't seen in 30 years has been, I always knew I had a blessed life. This has made it clear to me my life is as blessed or more blessed now than it ever was.
Ross, go ahead.
Yeah, Jim, when all this first started, what symptoms did you have that made you go and see if what I had? I mean, did you think you had a major problem, a serious problem?
Right.
What happened? What determined to go get diagnosed?
Yeah, so early on, I did not think I had a major issue. Looking back, I now recognize an issue with my left foot, left leg. But what really had my focus was my left arm. My shoulder was hurting. My left hand was weakening a little bit. And quite honestly, I just felt it was from throwing too many pitches, too many breaking balls. So I started, it was really what I was thinking. And so I went to an orthopedic. He started going down that road, figured I had a nerve issue with my elbow. Maybe something was messed up with my shoulder. So he sent me another ortho for that. But during that period of time when that started, I'd also started running for the first time in a while. And when I would get on the road, my left leg would not listen to me. I could run, and once I got going, it wasn't too bad. But I was envisioning that anybody watching me figured that my leg was kind of had its own mind. And that's when it started like, okay, this is a little different. I mentioned it. One of the orthopedics had sent me to a neurologist to check my elbow. And when I told him about my leg, that was a flag for him.
Yeah.
He started sending me to the brain scan, full spinal check with an MRI, when basically trying to find something besides ALS. He referred me to Dr. Glass, and as you said, within 15 minutes, he told me he recognized it like his grandmother. Yeah. So yeah, I never saw it coming until about May.
I want to give credit. I read that in Dan Connolly's really lengthy piece in The Athletic. And it was a really great piece. It gave a lot of texture to your life. Go ahead, Ross. I know you have another one.
Are you just weak? Are you in any pain?
Yeah, great question. The only pain I ever had was in my left shoulder, and it was basically because I really wasn't using it like I should.
Yeah.
And there's a term now, Ross, that I never heard of when we played, but called a frozen shoulder.
Right.
And it was giving me discomfort, and it was part of what was beginning me to go see an orthopedic because I wasn't able to sleep. But outside of that, no pain at all. It's just the nerves that go from the brain to the muscles are dying, and everything just starts deteriorating. There's no pain whatsoever.
Right. Okay. From when you were diagnosed, or not when you first started noticing this.
Yeah.
How's it over the 9 months? Has it increased a lot? Some, because I understand what little I've read about this, everybody's different. I guess some people have the upper body problems, the lower body. Sound like you got the lower body problems, weakness and muscle twitching or whatever, cramps. Everybody's different.
That's right.
How are you different from back then to now?
So by the time June had rolled around, it was my entire left side, left leg, left arm were definitely impacted. Like I said, I could walk. My right leg, right arm, for all intents and purposes, were fine. I was starting to lose core strength. So, say from like June till October, November, I could still walk pretty well. Going down a flight of stairs was getting to be a little tricky. I was getting weaker and weaker in my left arm, so I was always using my right arm to help guide me. A couple months, literally just a couple months after that, I wasn't walking anymore. I just can't move. I can shuffle a few inches. So the left leg is basically shut down. I can stand up, that's about it. Right leg's getting weaker. Left arm is more or less not functioning. So it's funny. And it seemed like it picked up once I knew what it was.
Yeah. Jim, I'm wondering, you pitched in 431 big league games, a career from 1990 to 2000 in the big leagues, played for 8 teams. Is there anything at the age of 55 and with this diagnosis that what you did in the big leagues has given you some type of strength to move forward and have such a positive outlook?
Well, I think the personality that helped me get those 11 seasons. I mean, I was not a very gifted pitcher. I'll never forget Mike Hargrove telling me
Either was Ross.
well, I'm gonna get. I don't know about that, Ross. I'm pretty sure you'd have a manager tell you. I don't know how you get people out with that stuff you throw up there.
That makes you feel real good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Earl
that was inspiring.
Earl was much harder on him than you with those.
Oh God, yes.
I believe that.
No.
But Stan, I think the personality of, hey, I'm just gonna take on the day, and for me, my mantra was, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm going to battle. I'm going to compete. I might get beat, but I'm going to see what I got. And I think that has lent itself to, like I said, dealing with the situation I'm in now. Come up with a way to deal with a circumstance.
It's funny. I didn't put two and two together. Your manager when you were with the Orioles was Johnny Oates.
That's right.
And I'm going to assume, the way I knew both of you, and I didn't know you well at all, but I know of you and watched you for those years in Baltimore. I'll bet you two were pretty close, and you had to watch what happened to him. That's kind of ironic.
Yeah, that is very much a shame. I mean, Johnny was just a good man. Impossible not to like. And, to know what he went through at the end of his life is, it was devastating. You hear about, shouldn't happen to people like that. He was such a kind soul.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough.
You mentioned before that the outreach you've had from people, that you played with and all that. Could you talk about, I know from Dan's piece that I hadn't known you were that friendly with Greg Olson.
Yeah.
But Greg has been a friend for a long time, and he's been pretty shattered by this diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean, and Greg was I've known Greg since college. We played against each other, and then we were on the USA team together. And just, always connected, great guy. He was actually one of the first phone calls I made to let somebody know.
Yeah.
We had stayed in touch. We were still, were friends, and I knew he would be somebody that would, basically be a foundation for me.
Yeah.
Most importantly, if I felt like I needed basically to unload.
Yeah.
Right. You were asking about, I didn't know how I was going to handle this emotionally. And, he's been a rock for me. Helped me with my religious foundation and just being there for me.
Ross?
Yeah. Jim, talk about, you played shortly, briefly with Johnny, or not Johnny, but Tommy Lasorda, Dusty Baker, Mike Hargrove. I mean, it's a pretty big name guys. Who was you were a middle specialty type guy, left-hander, which they don't have anymore. They're not. They're eliminating that.
Yeah.
So who were the managers that kind of was on the same page with you? You were on the same page with them, that you kind of knew what they were going to do and knew when you were going to be used.
Right. I thought Johnny did a good job of that with me, Baltimore. I mean, we had Flanny when I first got there. And then when I came back later on, when I missed a lot of 92, 93, I was primary, and he used me, so, well. Dusty Baker was good that way. Dusty was a little different in that he let you know, you knew your role, but the other party, you also knew about Dusty is, if you got hot, you were going to be up every day. He was going to ride you until you broke. Then he put you on the side for a week, and somebody else take your spot.
Right.
But he told you up front, he knew it. Yeah. So I think, and then McGrover, when I was with the Indians, that bullpen was crazy good. And we had Paul Ossenbacher, who was a great left-hand reliever. He was always clearly the lead guy. So I knew, hey, I'm fifth, sixth inning if we're winning, seventh, eighth if we're losing. And Mike was really good about managing a bullpen like that.
Boy, they liked you in Cleveland. You played for the Indians, I think I saw 3 different times.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. And by the last time I think it lasted 6 days. Yeah, but I mean, Cleveland was a great organization for me. A lot of the people were built out of Baltimore history.
Yep.
And it was funny when I went to Cleveland, I felt like I was back in Baltimore.
Yeah.
In terms of the way the organizations ran, the way they treated the people. But yeah, the Indians were a team that always was willing to bring me back in.
Ross, go ahead.
Hey, let's go back to when you're a kid,
Yeah.
going to school. You're born in Rochester. You moved to Philly. You went to LaSalle College High School.
Yeah.
And you didn't really have you didn't really want to be a baseball player, did you? You were more interested.
So my record indicated that I wasn't going to be a baseball player. I love playing the game.
Okay.
But man, I couldn't win a game to save my life. So yeah, coming out of high school, there was the dreams of a kid, but there was no belief that I would be pitching.
Let me ask you this. I read somewhere you were a left-handed catcher.
Oh yeah, that's how I made my varsity high school team. Tells you something about my ability on the mound.
Yeah.
My sophomore year, I made the varsity as a catcher. Loved the position. I just wasn't very good on the mound.
I thought that was well. When did that all change? Because you go to Georgia Tech,
Yeah,
and you were on an excellent team, and you had some really good years there. You were drafted by the Dodgers twice, traded to Texas. You ended up in Baltimore. You played for several. When did all of this change? When you went to, I guess you went to college, and whammo, you become this really good pitcher.
So the one thing I'd always do was spin a breaking ball, but I could never throw hard at all. So when I went to college, my first year, I was fortunate. At that point, rosters were unlimited amount of games. That team I came into was very senior laden. So the freshman class was really brought in to get some games in quote unquote JV level and have time to develop. And I also, for the first time, really started lifting weights, getting a little physically stronger. So by the end of that first season, my velocity had gotten up to a point where it was respectable in that era, and I could still use my breaking ball. So they let me I threw it a little bit at the very end of the year, but it kind of catapulted me, making me realize, okay, they gave me the confidence, like, all right, I'm going to see what happens here.
Yeah.
And then after my sophomore year, I went away to the college summer league in the Shenandoah Valley. It was the first year that league was using wood bats. And again, back in that time frame, weightlifting wasn't big. So these kids couldn't really handle the bats. And I struck out 15 per 9 or something like that. I was like, okay, then this really is a possibility now.
Yeah, right.
So I made sure I kept working the double-E degree I have. But all of a sudden, I thought, maybe I can be that guy on TV.
Right. Yeah, cool.
Ross, Jim, I brought up the name Greg Olson. Could you give us a few other people that maybe it surprised you that have reached out to you since hearing about this ALS?
Yeah, well, actually, for me, some of it is about like going back to college. Guys I really hadn't interacted with in over 30 years. Nobody here is going to know, but Blake Burke, Keith Kerver, guys I really haven't touched much, and they touched out to me. I've had a few coaches and a few teammates, that have just made sure they've reached out, whether it was directly to me or if they didn't have my contact with other people. But it's been, Stan, it's been people over the years that I've been able to interact with, whether it was as a ball player. When I got out playing ball, I was, an pitching instructor. I taught high school math. I coached high school baseball. And, people the amount of people that have shown up to be supportive of my family, it's mind-boggling.
since your diagnosis, when people get any type of illness, and let's be honest, this is called a fatal disease. The average
right.
person lives with
Yep.
it for 2 to 5 years. You were shocked when I told you about O.J. Brigant, who played for the Baltimore Ravens
Right.
CFL team. He's on his 15th or 16th year with it.
Incredible.
Absolutely amazing. The question is, we can see somewhat how you're doing. How is your family doing? And how is your wife, Kim, doing?
Yeah, I think, definitely she is a type A personality that she sees a problem, she's going to fix it.
Yep.
Regrettably, as you laid out, this is not necessarily a fixable problem.
Right.
So what that's been stressful, but she's always trying to stay out ahead of what's next. So she is, without her, I don't know I'd have the wheelchair right now. I don't know if I'd have everything ready for the stages I've had. She has been phenomenal, but clearly an incredible amount of stress, especially I'd say in the last month as I took another step backwards.
Yeah.
So, can't say enough about what she's done. I can't believe she's able to deal with it every day. And for my kids, they have gone out of their way to make sure that they're around. I'm fortunate all three of my kids live in the area.
That's
I have
great.
a grandson, and you get to see him quite a bit. The kids have been great about engaging with me. I'm sure it's uncomfortable for them sometimes.
Yep.
To not see me get up and play catch or run around or whatever. But they have gone past that discomfort and fear. And, we have had, and one of the interesting side effects of this disease is emotional control.
Yeah.
And I'm actually on a drug right now to help me maintain that, but I have wild swings, both, they're crying or laughing, and for no particular reason. But the laughing part, I'd say we have come up with more reasons to laugh in the last 10 months than we ever have. We are enjoying ourselves, enjoying the time we have together, and I can't thank them enough for doing that.
Ross, you got one last question, and then I'll close
do.
it out.
Jim, I know this disease is not curable, but it's treatable. What kind of treatments are you having now, or what kind of treatments in the future? Is it something that will slow the progress of this disease? Like I said, I know it's not curable, but they treat it. But are you anything? They're doing anything for you to treat this? And like I said, slow the process, the progress of it.
Right. So it's a great question. There's actually only 2 drugs on the market today that are out there, and the thought is that they would help to quote unquote extend life. One is I'm on called Riluzole, and it's the original drug, probably been around for 40 years. It was funny when Dr. Glass said he was going to prescribe it for me. He was, hey, I'm going to have you take this. We'll see. It's the disease affects so few people.
Yeah.
That it has very limited resources in terms of researching. With that said, I say in the last 5 years, doing a part of what I have learned, you guys were asking me before, the amount of groups that have grown up here over and been able to show some positive steps forward is growing and using technology. People are working together more, different research teams. 2 groups I'm affiliated with. One is ALS Cure Project, actually started by Stephen Piscotty and his dad. Stephen's an outfielder for the A's.
Stephen's mom passed away from
That's right. And then another group in New York called Project ALS. They've been around a little longer, but they have made some advancements in some of their research. They have a drug called Procetin that just went into first stage trials in the last month or two. So those two groups, and we'll see if they give me hope, but I am excited to help them figure out at some point, a cure or a therapy that has a true impact on us.
Jim, I'm going to say something, then I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yes,
One of
sir.
the things that's incredibly attractive about you as a human being is the positivity that you've shown in dealing with something that is really a gut punch. So I just want to let you know that it's appreciated to see somebody so positive.
And thank you. Appreciate it.
And my last question, you've probably over the years seen Lou Gehrig's famous speech a couple times.
Yeah.
You've probably watched it since your diagnosis. Can you explain why you might feel, or what he was feeling when he said today, I feel like I'm the luckiest guy on the planet?
Yeah, you know what? I do understand now. And it goes back to what I was telling you about, the blessings in my life seemingly have only increased, right, since this has occurred. The outpouring of support, people, taking care of my family, me. It's when I'm listening to it, it sounds like he's saying something nice from the fans. And no, I get it. It's exactly how I feel. I am incredibly blessed. I'm living an incredibly lucky life. So yeah, it hits home, and it hits with sincerity.
All right. Jim Poole, we wish you the best of luck, you and Kim and the kids, and we'll
Thank you.
we'll check up on you, okay?
Great. Stan, Ross, great talking to you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Thanks for taking
All
the
right.
time to do this.
My pleasure.
Really
Take care.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Want to remind you, thank you very much, Jim Poole. Want to remind you that today's Zoom was brought to you by our friends at the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. Everybody in Baltimore knows they're a great place to go out and eat, but now they're finding out that the Costas Inn is a great place to take out from. 410-477-1975. For Jim Poole, Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan Charles. We'll see you next Monday. Who's going to win the game tonight, Jim?
You know what?
Kansas or-
I'm an ACC guy. Carolina Blue.
All right. I think Carolina's going to win it too.
Yeah.
Ross, who's
I
going to
got
win
the
it?
same thing. North Carolina.
All right.
I was rooting for Duke, but
I
Same.
was rooting for Duke too. Hey, Jim, again, for Jim Poole and Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan, and we'll see you next Monday once the baseball season started out. Bye for now.